So hello everyone listening and watching our stream today. We have a little treat for you today, something we haven't done before. We're going to stream live character creation and answer some questions about the game. If you're watching either in Discord, Twitch, YouTube, we're also streaming in Steam and Twitter. So if you're watching this and you have some questions for us, pop them in the comments and I'm going to make sure we're going to cover them. So right now we're going to do a little introduction and maybe talk a little bit about what we've been working on so far. So go ahead, guys.
Right. Hi, I'm Kenny, so co-founder and creative director and artist on Ghost on the Shore. And I'll be creating some character art today while answering questions of you guys. And so yeah, you can see a little bit about the process we use to make our characters. And yeah, feel free to ask some questions.
And I'm Dagmar. I'm the other half, the other founder. I'm the narrative designer, writer, business manager, whatever you want to call it, from like Charlie. So I'll be here if you have any questions on studios or narrative design, but spotlight is on Kenny.
Mm.
And I'm Kristi and I do community management here and I'm going to be moderating the questions. We have a bunch of really interesting questions we've been asked over the past couple of weeks and we wanted to go over them as we are creating some art for you guys today. So Dagmar and Kenny, do you want to tell us what have you been working on lately?
Should I go first?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I've been working a lot on the new scenes. So in the demo you can see the first island we've created so far, or part of it at least. But of course we have more than that to show. So I have been working on the two next islands a lot, and in the recent week I've been working on some more characters as well, because we have quite a few flashbacks during the game, and those need like character art, of course. So I've been working on those mainly.
Yeah, and for me, I've been working on what we call the discovery spaces. This is the spaces where you can explore a room and find objects related to, the people that used to live on these islands. I work space for space, and within the narrative design, I try to figure out which story beats need to be told in every discovery space, and which character I'm going to use to tell that part of the story. So I've been working on that the last couple of weeks, figuring out what is the content, what needs to be told, and how are we going to do that? Which objects, which texts, letters, books, what information, and how are we going to deliver it to the player? That's what I've been working on, and I think I'll have a bit more of that the next couple of weeks. I'm done with the second island, Little Rogue. I'm now working on the third island, the Dark Rogue. And I imagine that after that I'll revisit the first island, which is the biggest one, to see if the things that I set up on the first island are actually still working and if I need to adapt some things.
Mm-hmm. Sounds interesting. I think maybe we can actually cover quite a lot of those things that you talked about here, because we haven't really shared a lot of information on the other two islands. We have the first island in our demo, and I think in your interview with our publisher you shared bits and pieces of the second island. And the third,
we showed the second island, yes. We showed it in its entirety, I think, yeah.
Yeah, there was no gameplay back then, so we just walked around in on the island just to show how it visually looked, or where we were at that time with it visually. But yeah, now we're creating the story there as well, and everything is getting set up there to be able to have some gameplay as well, I guess.
And maybe it's interesting to mention that all 3 islands kind of have like a different section of the story, so it progresses through the islands. So the final island is going to be the grand finale.
Yeah, exactly. It's not entirely the same, but I mean it's 3 islands, and I kind of like to think of it as 3 acts. Though it's not entirely true because the first island is the biggest one, and the second island is a lot smaller and is almost like a private estate. And then the third one, the Dark Road, definitely is the 3rd act. That's where where it all comes together and the big reveals happen. It is hard to share. I mean, I'm like thinking, chewing on every word that I'm using because we do not want to spoil it. Because that's the hard part about being a narrative story. It's like, telling your viewers what the end of the movie is going to be. So I really don't want to spoil anything of the story. But what I can say, or maybe Kenny can talk about that more than I do, is that they look and feel very differently, all 3 of them. Even on the first island, the Big Rogue, I mean, you've mentioned that the demo is part of it, but that's only a small section. Like, it's not like the whole island looks like that. There's, every corner that you turn, every new space that you enter is a new piece of the story, is a new character, is a new event, is a new atmosphere, a new discovery. And but the islands, like the second island and the third island, they do look completely different. I know, maybe Kenny, you could talk a bit about the inspiration.
Yeah. Sure. So it all starts with the story, of course. So what I try to do when creating the islands visually is making sure that it feels closest to the story as possible, or what the feeling should be when you explore that part of the island. So that's where it all starts. And then, of course, using like different sorts of lighting or different sorts of like coloring does so much on feeling of an island visually, that's an easy thing to use for that part. And we also try to do that with the soundscape we make. Our 2 sound guys are amazing at like creating different atmospheres with the music as well. So we try to complement like those 3 pillars as much as possible, so that it all feels like one experience, basically, like one whole experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, there's the soundscapes. I mean, sound design, the soundscapes, the music, all of that is so very important. Like yesterday, somebody asked me. He said that the island, he had played a demo, and he said the island started to feel like a character in itself, and and I think that's very true because. There's no humans left on the island, so you explore it. You dig up stories. So it is as if the islands are talking to you, like they want you to find things. They're like eager for you to find, to figure out the stories, the things that happen there. If there is a story that needs to be found, that needs to be told, and when there's no characters, you have to look for other ways to tell that story. And of course there's the art and the design, but sound is so very important for us there. Like, it gives you a feeling of that island being alive, expecting you and communicating with you in some way. So yeah, sound design is very important for us.
Yeah, that's an interesting thought, that the islands themselves are kind of like a character telling the story, and you've mentioned a lot that this game is in its essence about wanting to be remembered. And because of all the people from the island are gone, there's nobody there, so kind of they are wanting to be remembered, and maybe the island itself wants to be remembered.
Yeah, it's like the like you're right. I mean, the theme is about, you know, like wanting to be seen, wanting to be remembered, wanting to be loved and feel good enough to be loved. And since memories are such a strong theme, it feels like the island has been holding all these memories, and it just cannot wait to give it, to share it with somebody, to release it. You know, sometimes I feel like the island is about to explode. Like, I just need to tell somebody, and that is a player, like share the memories. You know, tell people what actually happened there.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I think it's going to be a great experience exploring these islands. So we have a little intro question from Bloody Good Reviews, and then we can start with the characters. So he's asking about what's the expected playthrough time going to be, and what platforms is it going to come out on?
Playthrough time, we're thinking now 3 to 4 hours. And expected platforms, we're going to start with PC, and then we'll see. Or we're still have to check in with our publisher what the exact plans are. But for now, PC.
Yeah, because we just a few days ago, I think, signed a publisher deal, and a lot of that is going to be depending on what they feel is right for the game.
Yeah, so we're still we still have to figure out those details, but that's for the next couple of weeks, like after Gamescom.
So okay, let's take a look at what's Kenny working on. Who's this?
Maybe Dagmar can tell more about like who it is. That's like more her field.
Yeah, this is Cordelia Crown, and for those who have played the demo, they have met her somewhere. I'm not going to say where, but you have encountered Cordelia Crown in some way in the demo, and this is her. She well, yeah, I'm just trying to figure out how to say this. When she's not, I mean, as you can see, she's not a ghost, but she's not real life either. How do we describe this without spoiling anything, Kenny?
Well, in the demo they can encounter like the way we bring these characters on the screen, and it's some kind of, in the demo you don't really know yet what it is, but it's something like Riley can see all of a sudden in the world appearing. She doesn't know where it comes from, and Josh can't really see it at all. So there's that dynamic as well. But yeah, it kind of just happens, and Riley doesn't really know what to think of it or make out of it.
It's kind of like it's like a vision, you know. And that also for me is a way that the island talks to her. It's not just only through sound, but it's showing her things, you know. And it's only her, yes. So that gives some sort of conflict, and because Josh is in her head and he sees everything that she sees, except for these visions. They are only hers. And that happens for the first time in our demo, is the first vision that she gets. And so Cordelia Crown is one of the characters of the past. So up till the moment when Riley arrives on the island, I mean, there's been hundreds of years of history. And there is one specific time period, and she is part of the story back in those days, like in the 1900s. What her part is in the story, I do not want to share yet. But as you can see, she's one of the rich people.
It's 1800s, right?
Yeah, did I say 1900s?
Yeah.
I meant 19th century.
Okay, yeah, fair enough.
But I said it wrong. Yeah, the 1800s, yeah. That's her. So she comes from money, and she... I find it so hard. What can I say without spoiling stuff? I can share it. I mean, they own the islands, the Rogue Islands. So she has a different story to tell than the other characters that we meet. We also try to, I mean, she has her standing and she has her function within the story, but we also try to layer the raw emotional, personal, human emotions and feelings within. So like, and I try to do that for every character. Like, they're not just the bad guys or the good guys. They all have these layers. I like characters to be human. And what makes it hard in Ghost on the Shore to do this is that we have very limited space to tell the story of the characters of the past. Because we don't see them, we don't meet them, we don't get to talk to them. We see visions that involve them, and we find their homes, we find their objects, we find their journals, their drawings, and those are all witnesses to their emotions. But we're not in the first row to experience it with them. We are only told about them, and that makes it sometimes a little harder in this game to convey the different layers of a character, of a personality. Mm-hmm. Do you guys still know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
For me, it makes sense, but
So Kenny, when you're creating these characters, what do you think is important to make them stand out and give each of them a different personality?
Yeah, totally. Like, because as you can see when I go look at it in the game, they're like very stylized. So you don't see a lot of features, or like it's mostly like shape and contours, and because you can't really see her face at all, so it's hard to put character into those. So what I try to do is like capture the body type mostly, and of course clothes, like the clothing they're wearing can tell a lot, and making them, because we have like 8 kind of characters, I think around 8 that you visually see in the game at least, and so they need to feel all different enough because again, like the colors are quite all the same because it's like a sort of vision style you see. So it's very important that they are differently shaped enough, and that their clothes differ. That, for example, for the men, that they have different kind of facial hair or no facial hair at all. So that's specific to this style. What I'm trying to do to make it clear who you're watching, basically. Mm-hmm. Of course, voice acting will help a lot in this as well. You'll hear their voices. So it's not only visuals, of course.
And and the shape of the clothes also, like because there's no textures or even color. Like we've been going back and forth looking at old pictures, like you see this one, like to find even just the choice of this hat. You know, like which hat do we want? Because we wanted to give her a hat so she would stand out from the others, but which one do you choose? You know, because you're not going to see the flowers and the birds so you have to sort of like pre-vision or pre-imagine or whatever you call it. Like, what is the contour of it, the shape of it? Is it going to work? Is it not going to work? And then it's the little things. And what I like about working, you know, like Charlie and working with Kenny is that this is a constant back and forth between art and story, because Kenny's never going to design anything without just checking in if it makes sense narratively. And I like to make mood boards and stuff, but then, you know, I hand it over to Art, and then did you guys hear that? No.
Yeah.
Did you hear my Skype ping? No. Okay, good. Sorry.
It's fine.
And then they do their thing with it, but it's a constant communication, you know, between narrative, art, and sound design. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And what about the visual style right now? Is it very different from what it used to look like? And if it is, how did you find the final feeling, so to say?
For the characters, or more in general, you mean?
I meant in general, but I think characters are also interesting.
Okay, well, maybe it's even kind of the same, but like in general, it didn't differ that much from what I started with, but it evolved, of course, but in a way that it got a little bit more detailed, I think. So there's, in the textures, for example, there's a little bit more structure than I used to put there. Like, I usually had just a few brush strokes almost to make it look really painterly. But as it evolved, it just got more and more, with stylized and not stylized, but more detailed, like detailed brush strokes, basically. And for the characters, it just, like the effect we have here now, that she's like almost flaming or like this squiggly effect, that evolved quite a lot as well. It was just searching for the right feel and thing, and to make it more dream-ish like, and that's what I ended up with. Yeah.
And to make it match with the rest of the environment as well.
Yeah.
Because we had, I think the very first ghosts that we had were, I still like them. I think they were pretty cool, but they didn't fit the environment that you were making. So that's a constant back and forth as well.
Of course, there's also the fact that we have like, there's a ghost still on the island, of course, but these are more like, they're not really there. So we have two visual styles to represent characters, because they're actually two different things as well. So that was kind of hard as well for me to make it look like that they fitted with each other, the two different styles, but still felt different enough that you could see the difference between them and distinct the difference between them.
And also you'll notice a difference when you're playing the demo, that the visions are passive characters and they don't pay any attention to Riley, but there's a ghost who's very interested in her. Yeah. So how do you go about creating a new character? I see you are using some historic material to do this design based on that.
Yeah, totally. So everything starts again like with narrative. Who is that character, and what time period is he or she from? So that's the first step, and that's always like Dagmar said, a back and forth between the two of us. Like, she makes mood boards, and then I go in and I like, oh, but I saw it differently, I saw it this way, and then we like arrive to a point we're both really satisfied with, and then it's mostly just diving into 3D and having like different pictures. I put this picture now mainly for like the hair and the hat, but when I started I had like a different different pictures for the clothes and everything else. So it's just a collage of different pictures that I can use to create the character we want. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Then we can maybe do a few final questions. We didn't plan to make it too long this time. We had somebody ask previously about classic art, painting and drawings, and do you do mostly digital art, or do you do more of the classic art also?
Yeah, so it's mostly digital art for me, and specifically like game art, of course. I do a little bit of painting as well digitally. For example, I made some concepts really early on that I could base myself off of, or just get a feel of how the game would look like and feel like. Next to that, I made some quick drawings for like the game as well, but traditionally in charcoal. And we scanned them in and used them as textures for like drawings that characters made. It's always more fun to do it traditionally and then scan them in instead of trying to fake charcoal digitally. I think you always kind of feel it that it's fake.
And you had a lot of fun doing it.
Yeah. That was a lot of fun. Next to it, I don't have a lot of time right now to work on like traditional art, but I would love to get into painting someday. That would be really cool. I've never kind of done that traditionally, so that would be real fun to do, I think.
Yeah, that would be very interesting.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see what I would come up with.
Imagine if you have like completely different style.
Yeah, maybe
unrecognizably different.
I wouldn't know. Yeah.
Yeah, that's all very interesting. And maybe one of the final things I wanted to mention on was that we have a lot of funny 3D model glitches happening in game development, and some of them we've also shared in our social media. And maybe, do you have any on you right now to show?
I would need to change scenes, and I could show like so I finished the flashback like you see in the demo, and that was all working fine, and that was great until I decided that something needed to change to both models actually you see there, and yeah, the change of like the characters resulted into this. So you might recognize like a little bit the area here, but yeah, this is like, oh, that wasn't what I wanted to do. But yeah, you can kind of recognize it, but like the little girl isn't feeling too well right now, and she's really head down. And yeah, let's not talk about the grown woman. She's
a basket head.
Yeah.
It's a massacre.
So that's what it looks like now for me. So yeah, that's some bugs. We still have to fix them, but we're working on it. Yeah.
But these things happen, and it's quite funny when they do. Like as you said, you think you're gonna go change a tiny little thing, and then suddenly everyone's laying on the ground.
It's not always that funny though.
Yeah, I posted it on Slack, and everyone was like, "Ha, that's so funny!" And I was crying in a corner because
it's not funny.
So yeah.
Yeah, but I think that's it from us today. We're gonna have another session tomorrow, which starts an hour later, and then we're going to focus on environment design and decorating, and then we can talk some more about the general feel and the story of the islands.
Okay.
Yeah, but this was really fun.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah, see you next time.
See you then. Bye bye.
Bye bye.